Well, I want to thank everybody for allowing us to present where Gazingle is headed. In the beginning of this year, the team began to build out and become a more corporate oriented, shall we say, with bringing in some more technical people and some leadership. So in 2023, a CTO was brought on board, and the role specifically of that position was to manage the software development in a more holistic manner, as opposed to kind of a one fix here, one fix there. And the other thing is that was to make sure that the work being done was more, maybe, shall we say, a little more with a little more forethought, in the sense that it was more business oriented. So rather than these things being technical fixes or technical direction, it's really about business alignment and making things easier to use in the software. In that light of making things easier to use, we also have brought on board a UX UI designer. You can think of it as just somebody who makes things pretty, shall we say. That's a really soft way of making the statement. But the idea is, can we make Gazingle easy to use, easy to understand, and fast in such a way that it really begins to help the business or the franchisees do what they're doing, as opposed to potentially causing any roadblocks. And then the third, which is probably well, the most important of it, is the software development team has been expanded. And the key value to that is that as the top two individuals bring forward the guidance, they're going to deliver faster. So whatever people are used to seeing, the work will be done faster in a more holistic manner. So there won't be, hopefully, the idea of a fix is put in place, a feature has been added, and then 6 months later, we need to tackle that again. During our interviews, what we also saw just matched what I just articulated here on the left, which is, in general, the software is a little confusing to use. When we talk about CRM, there is kind of a standard flow to that, and it doesn't match the way the branch is working. So we've got to kind of adjust the way the sequence of the screens. And then there were, as said before, sort of varying issues on the mobile app.
Got it. Thank you, John. Well, thank you everybody for being here. So I'm gonna be sharing with you guys our roadmap, and the way we've broken down is essentially it's to four different phases, right? In each one, we have a corresponding timeline as far as how much each phase would take and what is included. So to start off with, we are addressing, or the objective we have for the first phase is solving the current issues that we have, specifically for the mobile app. So fixing the bugs for the media, right? So I know some of you experienced some of the issues where you're clicking on images and you're having problems as far as how it's interacting. So we're going to be tackling that, being able to access the document. So I know that's also an issue, and selecting some of the files within the eat site function. And that's all to make the process, obviously the flow of that process, a lot smoother. uh, so that's within the 30-day period. We are solving those bug fixes within the 30-day period. So the main theme of the focus of phase one would be to address again the current problems, and to also set up a better help tool. And what I mean by that is setting up a wiki help page. Obviously, start focusing on the videos, set up videos, anything that would help the users to integrate and utilize the system uh, better, and have a resource where you could essentially gather that information. Also for onboarding your, if you have new technicians coming in, just a really a source of a way for these people, when these people come in, have some type of source of how to utilize the system, right? Plus also making the system simpler. So that's phase one. Uh, so below that, we have a couple of things. So we mentioned is the help wiki, the mobile pin login. So that's just to simplify the login. So I know sometimes you guys might have complicated passwords. So we would give you the option to guys to utilize your email and your a PIN to simplify that, and also UX flow and the layouts as well. So for phase two, we are looking into mobile improvements, and this includes the mobile app, the mobile media, so uh, uploading, creating estimates and invoices through the mobile app, right? The ETA and location share for technicians and project managers, right? Which I know some of you have mentioned that this would be super helpful. So sharing the location uh, with the customer, right? So they have a reference point of when your technician is going to get there, your project manager is going to get there, uh, and also the background upload. So currently our system fixes is set when you're taking pictures. You have to stay on the screen in order for the images to upload. And I know this takes time, so we are going to allow you guys to use the rest of the system or change the app, have the app in the background while you're uploading the pictures. The third stage, sorry, third phase is sharing the claims with the user. So what this entitles is that I know there's certain situations where you're pulling help from different branches. I know you guys come together sometimes for specific claims or for specific situations, let's say hurricane events, where you have to sometimes create a user inside your account just for somebody that's coming in for temporary help, right? So if you want to pull, or if you guys are requesting help from a different branch, right, we will allow you to essentially invite for whatever time you want users from a different branch into your account, so they're able to access specific claims that you want to share with them, and then via that they'll be able to work on it, take moisture readings, take pictures, essentially interact with that whole process of the job for let's say that hurricane event. And once that's done, you could actually just send them back to their account or remove access from your side. And then testing the screens, essentially what this is, at this point, we will be showing you working screens as far as the new UI and the layout of the mobile app as well. So this would be the process where we'll start getting feedback from you guys. Obviously, beforehand, we're obviously going to be reaching out to you guys, see what you guys think, getting your feedback as well. But this is when we're actually going to have something solid to show you guys, something that's going to be useful. And then move on to the final phase, which is having a new app from the browser side and the mobile app as well, which would include the third-party integrations.
No, I don't have a question. So the 12 months, right? That's including, urgent changes, bugs, unexpected stuff.
So the
Yes.
bug fixes, yeah. So the bug fixes is way before the 12 months. So those are going to be our main priority on the start off, on the kickoff, would be to solve the critical issues that most people are having problems with, which is the media documents and e-sign. And then obviously throughout the process, we're going to be fixing a lot more as well.
So you took that into consideration, right? That
Yes.
if you're saying 12 months, so technically you thought it's going to be 6 months, but you extended it to 12 months because of maybe unexpected stuff,
That's
right?
correct. Yes.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
And so just try to visualize it here. We've got bug fixes here as the main effort to take care of some big ones. And then these are some big, these are also, I don't want to say bug fixes, but these are some quick, big value enhancements, the first three. But then you'll notice that at the bottom of each of these here, there is releases happening, that there's bug fixes. So each quarter there'll be a big chunk coming, and there's nothing really preventing us from maybe on a monthly basis doing interim releases as well. So that when there's more than, say, one small fix, there's clusters, you'll be able to get them in a timely manner.
No. Also, an important thing to note that we will be sharing monthly updates as far as with the broken down list of things that we've either resolved or we've improved. So we're going to be constantly communicating that process to you guys, so you're fully aware of what's going on.
Okay, now I know that I understood that the app, one of the major challenges is the app. So there's going to be a lot of work invested in that. Now, when launching the app, I know when you there is a time period when you need to wait for Apple, right, and Android. Is that the timeline that you included in that as well?
Yes. So we discussed this yesterday quite extensively, and having managed two that I can remember off the top of my head, Apple deployments. One of the things that we're going to do that's not visible here is actually around phase 1 is, well, when we do this mobile PIN login here, we're actually going to start releasing on a fairly regular basis the app into the App Store for upgrades. They may be very small changes or very small enhancements, but what that causes is actually quicker turnaround time by Apple, because now they will have seen the application on a regular basis and will not be questioning the underlying, shall we say, technology or the data movement. They're just recognizing it. They've already done it once. And so the turnaround will be just looking at the enhancements. And the turnaround then becomes a 1 to 2 day. And then publishing it is basically like a 4 to 8 hour release. So the timeline shrinks dramatically.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
And we have accounted for buffer time within each of the phases as well.
As far as usability, those of us that do want to switch to Gazingle, we should give it 1 year before we decide to completely get away from our current systems. Is that correct?
I believe that Gazingle offers quite a bit to any franchisee. One of probably the most important things that I have seen since I've been here is getting the right people trained with the software. And I've sat with Lewis a few times, and and the software does what it needs to do. It does make you effective. And so I would recommend that at any point you feel good, somewhere between, say, 30 days and maybe 3 months, to begin touching your toe in there, getting comfortable with it. And, because right here, this background upload and this media upload, this is the technician and the project manager on site. And if you have a number of people that are on site that you want to use, be prepared. When that releases, you'll be very effective. So I don't think you need to wait. Just gradually work your way in with the training. It would be my recommendation.
So based on feedback that we received from the franchises, is that the app is the most challenging thing. Like I think what they said, if the app would have worked like the desktop, we would be in a much better shape. So when you talk about phase 1, is that the app, or when will the app be in a...
So major improvements are happening here. We tried to put in the mobile kind of conversation. So those 4 right there are the major mobile improvements. And then right here is the moisture improvement, where it will move from solely being on the mobile app to being available on both the mobile and the desktop. So that's why I I highly recommend kind of timing that transition in, so you avoid the bumps and bruises that would happen, and it becomes a smoother transition in.
So 6 months for the app to be to function properly?
I think the issue is we could overpromise and underdeliver, but that would not be the appropriate thing to do. So we feel reasonably safe to say 6 months. We can, I think the value here is to partner together and As Lewis outlined a moment ago, we would be sharing updates on a monthly basis. So that 6 months can very likely and should very likely come down, but it would be inappropriate for me to say 3 months today, when we should work together and see it come down.
Okay, but can we say like worst case scenario 6 months, or is it 12 months?
These are worst case numbers.
Worst case, okay.
Mhm.
So, this is Harpreet again.
Yes.
A lot of questions, Miri, we are getting in those emails, responses, that we are unable to get Gazingle to where it should be in last 6, 7, 8 years. I mean, what is going to change in next 6 months all of a sudden, and why that wasn't done when before? I mean, if it is that easy to fix it in 6 months, why we didn't do it before, and what all of a sudden superpowers we are getting that will be done?
So I think this is Harpreet. I can't see on my screen. I'm assuming that was you.
Yes, this is Harpreet.
Okay, Harpreet. So your comment is very fair, and I think that the superpowers is the notion that one needs help, and that was what I tried to articulate on the first slide, was that Gazingle has made its investments, and it's made it in 3 areas. I'm sorry, 3 areas specific to people types, people group, resources. And then secondarily, probably most importantly, is that it is focusing a shift away from doing technical work and focusing on it becoming business. You know, it has, rather than saying we're just going to add a feature, we're going to understand how and why and make these features appropriate and balanced for the organizations, for the franchisees. Did that answer your question? I may have been a little vague in the way I answered it.
Yeah, I mean, I use Gazingle only. I don't have any CMR. I'm very easy guy to convince, because the issue is convincing the other 90% people who just hate Gazingle.
So I agree. That I think is a very fair statement. And since my joining, that is the things that we've done. So in April, we made the effort to go and look and see what's happening. And that was something that I requested. And that is what leadership is about, right? Rather than is to pause and take a look and do it and take it on the chin if it's true. And that is something that I think is very fair statement you're making, and it is quantified. That was the research we did. I spent time and listened to a number of franchisees with Lewis. We may have picked the worst ones, but we did that consciously. I'm sorry, when I say worst ones, the least usage ones of Gazingle, so we could hear. And when we heard, it was very consistent, the concerns. And we've tried to, I'm going to flip back here, to make it easy to understand that we do hear you and that we do recognize the situation, and the new blood, shall we say, that's in here to make this thing better is what we're doing. Is we're focusing on it being business, we're focusing on it being easier to use, we're focusing on it to be a little more self-service, and we're focusing on making it faster.
Great, I'll answer it from my perspective, right? Why now? What happened? Superpowers. So as I transitioned to my role today, I had a plan. I thought that I knew, I had my to-do list. I thought that, I knew what I'm going into. But very quickly I found that it's going to be a different journey. Because what I've done, I just reached out to everyone, or most of the people, most of the franchisees, and just kept asking questions. And based on this valuable feedback, as you guys, and I hope you noticed, everything changed. I mean, things that headquarters said long time ago that we're going to do, we're not done. And now we have like the largest support team we've ever had, whether if it's Kevin and Exactimate and Tammy, and looking for insurance. And one of the biggest things that I've heard in terms of pain was Gazingle. And that's one of the main reasons that this journey started, because I see my role in the company I see myself as the person that needs to ensure that you guys have the conditions, the tools, the resources, the support to succeed. And when I transitioned to this role, even though I've been with the company for forever, right, and I thought I knew it so well, I realized that I didn't, right, because I didn't have that close communication with you guys. So when I transitioned and I started all these great conversations with everyone, I really understood what you guys need. And you saw real fast Kevin joined us, and Tammy joined us, and David joined us, and looking for insurance. And the way that we do things changed completely. I mean, you guys are involved when we do interview. Like, you guys have a valuable say. Like, there have been people that you say no and we didn't hire them. Like, support people, because again, I see my responsibility here is a person that needs to ensure that you have the tools and the resources to succeed. And that's the reason, again, this journey started. I know we always say, we started the branding campaign, and one of the biggest things that we say there, that we promise that wow customer experience. Now, yes, we'll hold everyone accountable for it, but we want to make sure you guys have the right tools for it. So how can I hold you accountable for it if you don't have the proper CRM, right? So that's a big thing as part of the transition that we're going through. So not only holding ourselves accountable, right, and building our name and building the brand equity, which is CRM is super, super important tool, right? As you see, like the whole company, the shift completely changed. It's also a pain point that everyone mentioned when I spoke with them and with you guys. So that's the big change. So as you guys see, all these great changes are happening, and there's still many other changes. Like Eric mentioned it the other day. I think when we interviewed Tiffany, that, by the way, we have another franchise consultant that is starting today. We need to make sure that we have protocol that everyone, whether if it's in California or New York, are performing water damage in the same manner. Kevin is working on it right now. I know that Tiffany is scheduled to help him to make sure that this is done faster, so we can enroll that, and then we'll have training. It's part of the transition. It didn't happen before, right? It's not okay, but it's happening now, right? So there's new spirit, things are being done different. There's 100% transparency with you guys. You see, when we interview, before we do anything with the NAF, we always share it with you. We always ask for your blessing, because we're in this together. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is to have that unity, because before there was such a big disconnect between headquarters and franchisees. It was like we're both in different sides, and we have different goals. So why it's happening now, that's the reason it's happening now, if that makes sense. And why now we can do it, because again, I will make sure that you have the best CRM. If you think that it's Gazingle, then I'll make sure that it's going to be Gazingle. If you think it's someone else, then we'll make sure that we're bringing that other CRM. But that's why now. And that's why, if this is the route that we decided is going to happen, that we want to pursue, we'll make sure in one way or the other, it will happen. Even if, let's say, if we meet, John said it's going to be monthly meetings. We will make sure that we're going to have monthly meetings. And if something, doesn't look right or whatever, right, we can always make changes. But as far as my concern, if this is the route that you guys decide to go, it's going to be my responsibility to make sure that it happens the best way possible. as you've seen, everything that we've done so far. So that's why now.
So, John, you said 6 months
Yes.
worst case scenario. How
Yes.
confident are you that we will achieve sustainable and likable and effective CMR within that time frame? And what is the, what are you comparing it with? Where are we trying to take the CMR? What's our, you look up to, like, we want to be like this. There are different CMRs with different functionalities. Have we chosen some of those, or these are the functionalities we want, or even better than that?
When you say functionalities, can you give me an example so I understand, I'm on the same page with you?
So, I have, as I said, I don't use any other CRM, but we have taken presentation from Albeware.
Mhm.
For example, something I liked, one thing, there are multiple things which we liked. One thing was you can import the whole exact image, and you have a subcontractor who works on, it's a drywall subcontractor. You can tell Albeware that pull drywall line items, create a scope to give it to that subcontractor. It's fairly easy thing to do. The whole software is doing it. Easy way to, much easier to do your moisture mapping and tracking. Much easier to do your contracts, online signatures, multiple things. We were on that presentation. There are so many things Albeware had, which we can see that we do have in Gazingle some way or the other,
Mhm.
but not efficient, not easier to find. You already said all those things that you will incorporate, make it easier, prettier, and more effective and faster. But is there a goal or some software we are looking up to achieve that? And how confident are we that we will achieve all that within that timeline? And do we have enough support to do that? Albeware had 40 software engineers, or whosoever those people who are providing support to these people who use that software. Do we have enough support to provide if we do it in-house?
So yes, good. So now I understand your question. So am I confident that we'll get to it? Yes. So that was the first thing you were pointing out. In regards to the functionality, I'll provide it sort of in these two pieces. One is I have experience. Some of you may know US Bank and you're checking on your phone. They were in a similar situation, and I was the individual who led the charge to transitioning it to a new, simpler mobile app that's on, you're checking retail banking on your mobile app. So I have the experience, have seen the transition and what it takes to do that transition. In doing so, what we didn't talk about was the research that we've done, that we did compare to Albeware and try to understand what they were doing differently. In that vein, what we saw was they had the consistency and the flows that made it easier for people to understand. It may or may not match how 911 restoration is wanting to do the sequence of their business flow. Because we can make the adjustments as we're designing it to make it a more perfect match, we will do that. So from a point of functionality, we are aiming to make it equal and better than what's out there in the industry, and Albeware is one of the standard bearers. We have a sense of what they can do, and we have a sense of where we want to be, which is equal to and above them in all those places. From a support perspective, what hopefully I tried to point out was that that development team is a growth, and it's not just one person, it's a company, and they will be able to scale up as needed. Scale up meaning, you have a big project, you will bring in more people, and we'll be managing that team or teams, shall we say, to make sure that the delivery happens in the timeline that you're looking for. I tried to hit all three. Did I hit them, or do you want me to fine tune a little bit?
No, actually, you did. So we
Okay.
are hiring an outside company to develop this.
To help. So that was what we pointed out here is the software development team. We're increasing the size and we're outsourcing it. Yes. Contractors, shall we say. Yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't sure how to phrase it, so I just left it as focusing in as just on the idea of we just have software development team.
We also need many different aspects. For example, sketching is one, and we are trying to partner with other companies who will integrate with Gazingle to enable us to do all those things. And we may bring in other partners also to enable Gazingle getting partnerships and get it better. Now, all these different partnerships and different technologies will come at a monthly price. And how are we planning to keep Gazingle affordable in comparison to all the other softwares which are available out there with similar functions?
I'm gonna give a 2 cents, and then if Miri, this is the moment I go, this is above my pay grade. So if Miri and Edon want to chime in, please, by all means. So just from a very simple perspective, in the research that I conducted with Lewis, we identified pricing, and the current pricing is actually much less expensive than the competitors. So we know that. We also know that if, for example, we can pick on Albiware. If you go to Albiware and then want to connect to MagicPlan, there's a cost. There are additional costs for that. So we are coming in at a better starting price, and we'll be offering additional services. This is where I will pause and then let the superpowers chime in on this.
So I'll I'll give an example. So pretty much whatever is involved, like third party, it's, as John mentioned, like subbing out, these are all costs that headquarters is going to take. If we're adding, I believe the sketch is almost done, by the way, and I guess I'll ask Luis to share a little bit light about this one and let us know is there any additional cost for the sketch, for example, Luis, or no?
There's additional costs outside of the software. So determining right now, we started with one specific software as far as the integration goes. So that would be MagicPlan, and MagicPlan has its own price, right? So that would be the cost that would be to be covered. Now, where it's not set to MagicPlan, right? MagicPlan just the start-off point, but there are other sketching softwares that we're looking to integrate with. Right, so there's a list of things like Encircled or Matterport and other softwares additionally to that. And then each one has its own corresponding price list based off of their own price methods, whether it's users or per account or so forth.
Got it. And the sketch, that's almost done?
The sketching integration with MagicPlan is almost done. We've already started. We've already connected and said we're in the testing phase of creating from one end to another.
Got it. So to finish this one, for example, how long will it take?
So right now we've waiting on a response on their end. Once I get a response from their end, as far as the amount of information that we're able to push and pull from one side to the other, then I'll give you guys an exact date. Maybe within a couple of days, I'll send out.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
So, got it. So, I think Scott or Megan mentioned like the GPS feature. So when I reached out to the Gazingle team, pretty much the way that it's going to be added or the cost. So we will reach out to that vendor or technology or software that offers that GPS, and I'm assuming we're gonna get like a wholesale price or whatever, and that's the price we're going to charge you, right? Exactly the same as we do with the Gmails, right? Whatever we're paying Google, this is the exact cost that you pay. There is no markup on it. What we're going to do is just going to make sure that we do the integration, which obviously you guys don't pay for it. So let's say if the GPS is $7 per account, then it's going to be additional $7 a month, whoever wants to use the GPA feature. So that's how it's going to work.
Yeah. So we.
Yeah, no, that I understand, but are we? We need to figure out that we are competitive. I know Albiware was expensive when we took that presentation, but Encircle is another good CMR. And I'm not using it, but we did took a presentation and I'm logged into a year contract, but it's $200 a month. And what I heard, it's a lot better software. May not be as good as Albiware, but it's almost there. Has many different features which even Albiware doesn't have. Talking to Chad, I think Chad uses Encircle quite a bit, so he swears by it. But will we be able to keep Gazingle comparable in cost? These kind of software with other companies. A lot of people are using Encircle from all those email responses I'm getting. Mika is another one. I don't know how much that cost. That is one of the concerns of many locations is cost. I know you told us that you will put in money to develop Gazingle, but are we then increasing the monthly cost?
No, we're not. The only thing that will be increased is if you want to add, let's say, tools that require the collaboration of other parties, like, for example, GPS, right? So if we wanted that, then we're going to partner up, and it's something we're exploring right now just to get an idea. But that will be the additional cost. So the $195, that's a technology fee. The Gazingle is included in that, and then we can have like some sort of a menu where, okay, if you want GPS, that's additional $7 a month, and we'll show you the invoice that we're paying for that third party. Again, no markup on it. Again, our main objective is to ensure that you have the best CRM out there at the most competitive price. Period.
Now, Louis, you are partnering up, and we are partnering up with Magic Plan for sketching.
That's correct.
Many of the locations, including us, we use Matterport, and I took Magic Plan's presentation. It's a nice thing, but Matterport had a lot more to offer, so we went with that. Will we be able to still connect Matterport with Gazingle?
That's right. So we're not limited to integrating with one specific software. There's no exclusivity in that sense. So we are open to integrating with other softwares as well. Yes.
Okay.
Again, that's the idea. So the basic fee of the technology fee is going to stay the same. It's just these add-ons, whatever the third parties will charge us, we'll just let you know.
All right. Now, another support system is major concern from the emails, and taking presentation from Albiware and others, that their support system is 7 minutes response time. And then if they have to fix any of the glitches which they find, any issues, it's 24-hour turnaround time. So we are using or outsourcing that. Will we continue to outsource that portion of the setup also, where we have enough support?
Yes. So I would probably propose to think of it a little differently. You're on the right track. They're just a member of the team. All we're trying to point out is we just didn't hire him directly.
So if I understand right, and Luis, correct me if I'm wrong, so you're going to be the main point of contact, right?
That's correct. Yes, yes.
Okay. And so, and your response time?
Well, I'm always as within an hour, maybe at tops. Usually I have my phone by with me all the time, so I'm constantly if you look at my messages or receive text. I've shared with my contact information. Also, Harper, I'm not sure if you have my direct number, but I tend to give everybody access to my direct line. So if you have any questions, you need help, you can call me at any time.
You know, I am able to access you fine, Louis. I mean, every time I needed help, you was always there. Thank you for that. But once we have more and more people start using Gazingle, right now we have 25% people using Gazingle, and if we are getting to 80, 20, or 90 plus, we will need more support than just one person.
Yeah, then we'll hire more people to,
Yeah.
you know, and we'll have shifts if we get to that.
So we need to put that also somewhere in the plan, Louis, in your those 4 stages of plans.
Got
That stage will come.
it. Thank you, Harper. I'll add it on there.
Hey guys, I jumped on about 10 minutes late. I don't know if I missed this in the beginning of the presentation. The clock in, clock out feature on the app. And I know me and you in depth about this. So my concern is this, because as you guys know, in our industry, you know, you could be doing water damage 1 minute, then the next minute you're called out to a fire inspection, the next moment you're at a mold loss. So our guys at any given time could be clocking into 3 different jobs in a day. The current software I use is able to track that, and we're able to then accurately get them paid for their hours.
Yes.
Something that you guys are going to be able to do in Gazingle.
That is correct. That so that would be part of. If you notice, we have a clock in clock out feature, but it's limited to as far as like the amount of information it contains and how it functions, right? So in our improvement, that's included, right? Improving that functionality that we already have is to restructure how that layout works, how you're able to view it, how you're able to interact with it. So all that's planned out as well.
Is that also within the 6 months period or the 12 months?
So that would be within 6 months.
The 6 months?
That's correct. Yeah.
Another feature that I had a question about, for instance, I know that most of the country doesn't deal with this, and I'm sure you probably don't want to do this for 1 or 2 brands, but we do a lot of mold here in Dallas, and we're regulated by the state. We have protocols that we have to upload so the guys can see what to do when they get a job. Are we able to download a large size document that our boys can then view on a particular lead? Is that something that you guys are able to put into place?
Yes. So right now, if I don't know if you're aware of the,
I think it's
so we
already
have,
there. We can upload
yeah.
documents.
Sorry, I know, I don't know if you're aware. Well, you have the e-sign function, how you base it off of templates, right? I know you've tried that out. And then we have another function within the lead itself where you could upload temporary documents that you could utilize through that same e-sign function. So essentially, that's going to allow you to, and you could pretty much upload large documents into that as well, and it's not a problem. And it's based off of that specific claim. So if that document you're talking about is just for that specific claim, that would be the route to utilize.
Actually, I have a follow-up question on that. I know we can upload documents. We always do. We even
Yes.
upload our estimates and invoices in Gazingle, which
Yes.
can then be shared. But something I'm not aware if we have that feature in Gazingle or not. Can we limit the access of those documents? I don't want my technicians to look at the estimate or the invoices. And I think there is no way for me to stop that. Once I give access to a technician of a job, he has access to everything in that job.
Yes, that is also part of the updates as well.
but let me add something to that. Even
Go ahead.
so I used a program. I think it was Dash, and you could tell that program what features each person could have access to.
Right. So we're gonna. Yeah. Go ahead.
What will that be included?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
so
oh, sorry, go ahead.
All right, so what we will, it's basically we're going to set up a customizable role system, right? So per user, you're going to be able to identify what parts of the software and do we'll do like a full breakdown so you could get really into detail if you want to, as far as what they're able to access, right?
But
Per user
but
base.
you control each role. We want to be able to, what I'm saying is, can we what if we want to say, okay, well, yeah, Lewis, you think that a technician should have access to this document, but we as a company don't think that he should have access to that document. What I'm saying is, can we customize it even further?
Per user, you mean?
Yeah.
For each,
Yeah.
no,
Yes.
I would say each job, not per user. I mean,
Yeah.
user is the generic customization. Once you customize it, you're done. But what if I want to limit or give access to something to that user at a certain point? So I want access of those kind of things for each job. Once I assign a user to that, like right now we are able to assign technicians to the jobs. And then I would like to assign the role also at that time. This technician can do this, this, and this. Or we can have not like each separate role, but maybe create 3 or 4 options. Like a technician will have this access, and if I give, if I choose a lead technician, he will few more options will be added into that role. So instead of choosing and picking each role, we can probably create 5 or 6 different segments where we can quickly change that role. Maybe we can talk about all this later on when we are developing it.
So if I may chime in here, sorry. So what I'm hearing is that one is we're introducing, I use fancier terms, permissions into the application. And then we want to introduce a second layer of permissions that are at the, say, job level. And that is very doable. I think my sense is this is just a matter of vetting out the details and then making it available in the project timeline or in the roadmap.
Yep, I think that's
Because all that's being asked is a second, is a slightly more granular tier that's tied to a project. And then also, just for what it's worth, I know there was a comment that where it was kind of like Lewis is you're the one who's going to do it. We would by all means make these permission management capable at your level so that you can control it.
That's correct.
all right.
Lewis, oh, sorry, go ahead, Eric.
Sorry, I was going to say, as far as simplicity, I know that I believe David and I and Lewis, we spoke about this in length about a month ago. I believe you guys had a third party review Gazingle. Do they concur that it needs to be easier, less steps? There's a lot of unnecessary steps when you're trying to do just something as simple as take a picture.
That's correct. Yeah. So essentially, the main point would be of making everything more accessible within just maybe a couple of clicks, 1 or 2 clicks, for you to access things that now.
So the idea is 2 clicks to get to wherever you need to get to.
In the most cases, yeah. That's correct.
That would be very helpful. And then going back to Harpreet's point when he said, right now if we're having issues with a small percentage of the franchisees using it, is Gazingle a server-based program? Like, do we have actual servers for it? And
Yes.
if so, let's just say we are 80% of the companies running it. Are we going to run into issues where it slows down, where the servers can't handle the traffic? Because just the other day, about 3 days ago, I was trying to pull up a lead, and I just was unable to. So are we going to run into those issues in the future when we launch this thing fully? Because that's going to turn off a lot of branches, because I think that was one of the big issues a lot of people were having.
So this is John. I'll chime in on this. So having experience at a number of companies at where performance is extremely important. We would ensure that testing is done, so it's performance testing specifically, to something that would be, say, 2.5 times the size of the group, and then that would yield us the how much resources we need, and we would be pre-planning that. So things that are behind the scenes and not material to the franchisees would be how many servers, how much RAM, and those details. We'd be taking care of that and scaling up in preparation.
Thank you. And one last question.
Sure.
Would you guys also like, and this is just me being future minded, of course, I want to use Gazingle. I think it has potential, and obviously we're paying for it. But my other concern is like when there's outages, like I guess scheduled outages as far as maintenance or whatever the case is, we never get an email notification or anything, a text message telling us it's down. We just find out when we're in the field in the middle of a job, oh, Gazingle is down. Is that something that you guys are going to, at least kind of give us a heads up? Is that going to, or can we schedule maintenance for maybe later in the day or early in the morning when we're not at job sites?
So I'll chime in on that. I was unaware of that, what you're describing. That is a very inappropriate thing if we're doing that, and so I will find out, and we'll stop that behavior. Number one, we will time the outages based on the business's working time, so it'll be outside. So, for example, I've worked in places where 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. is normal business hours, and so any work that has to be done happened at midnight to 4 a.m. So we would work with the group at large so that we can identify what the normal business hours are, number one. Number two is we would work to create a communication, I don't know what to use, I want to say structure, but I'm being a little technical. We would create a way that we would communicate up front. And the typical pattern that I use is usually either 2 notifications or 3 notifications, something like a week in advance, something like a day in advance, and then 30 minutes before, so that everybody's aware of those things happening.
This is David Wolf, and so for Louis and John, this is my first contact with you guys. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Tim.
Lead marketing, and Miri and I had a brief discussion last week about there is a need, and I've learned that there's some functionality in there for facilitating reviews, customer reviews, and but it apparently is little known that functionality is in there, and what extent it is kind of useful is also a question mark. When in this process would it be appropriate to compare notes on what that functionality ideally would be? We've seen some newcomers to the reviews space that have gotten a few things figured out that are pretty smart and seem like things we could do.
This is John. When you say compare notes, you mean you want to get together with us or we collaborate together? Yeah. Please schedule this week. I think, Louis, we're okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do.
You're saying there's a way to send reviews through Gazingle? Is that what you're saying?
So
if you guys can tell us what functionality is currently there, that would help answer that question.
So we currently have the option for you to send review requests, I guess, if that's what you're asking for.
Yeah.
So we have the functionality. It's just like John mentioned, we've gone over this conversation a little techy, right? It's a little bit complex currently, so we want to simplify that process, and that's part of what we're looking to bettering as well, right? And we could have that conversation definitely in the next couple of days.
So pretty much what it is, what I remember that it is, you have the ability to add like the GMB, the Google Links or the Yelp, and then, Louis, correct me if I'm wrong, you can text it to your client while you're there, right? Is that correct, Louis?
That's correct. So yeah, we have a little bit more of that, so you could have it trigger based off of specific tasks. So if you change status or if you complete a specific activity, we have it just at the interface as far as how you set that up. Maybe it might be a little bit complex. So we want to simplify the process and how that works.
But currently, it's a feature that works. What do franchisees needs to do to use it today, for example?
Set up the functionality inside their account.
And can they do that, or do
They
we
can.
do that?
No, they can do it. Yes.
Okay. And you said right now it's complicated to do it? Like it's doable, but complicated?
It's doable, but it's complicated. So we want to simplify the process. Yes.
Okay. So if they want, we can just set it up for them quickly?
Also, we could help them set it up as well. Yes.
We can, okay.
And then this is just an anecdotal thing. Like, so I am a newcomer to Gazingle. Maybe in some ways that's helpful. And I kind of witnessed a couple of franchisees kind of learning some tidbits about Gazingle as they were learning it, and they were surprised that there was this functionality that was being discussed. It wasn't this what we were just talking about, and we did observe, you know, that it will make sense at some point in this process to do a kind of create a moment where franchisees get reoriented to what Gazingle's functionality actually is. I don't know if I would suggest doing it ahead of the work you're currently doing, but it might make sense so that as people are oriented to the fixes, they already knew what the original was. But that's a subjective call. But you see why I'm bringing it up, because there's just an information gap going on. That's real clear.
Yeah, yes. So very valid point, and it is things that we've discussed internally. So the challenge is making the trainings, I think we have it in the previous page, better aligned with the individuals who are participating. So that's one area that's being fixed. Second is to build out wikis. I don't know if that's a technical term, but basically a place for notes, tutorials, so that it's faster for adoption for the new people and for people who are just inquisitive of can I do something. Those are the sort of the first immediate steps that we plan on taking to nurture the adoption from going from the 25% to the 90+%.
We could definitely as well move into or look into the
if you are the business owner.
yeah, look into campaigning for maybe group training as well. Maybe
back out again today.
John, you could mute.
If you are the business owner, press 1 now to verify your business.
John Gabrielle, if you could mute, that would be great.
Maybe it's not there. Oh yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Yeah, all right. We could also campaign for creating a campaign where we could periodically, based off selective groups, and then train them as well. If that's something that's helpful, we could move forward with that as well.
Yeah, and I would, you know, I love the idea of just how you're describing how you're proceeding. I would suggest that maybe there's an opportunity in creating I don't know if it would take 2 minutes or 20 minutes, but an overview video. It can be a simple PowerPoint, you know, live description. But the idea is that anybody on their own schedule, new franchisees, prospective franchisees, can get an overview of the software capability and just, you know, get the comfort of knowing what they're buying into or what they should be thinking about.
Yeah, videos are in progress of being created. Short snippet ones.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So guys, based on just the conversation and the questions, and I appreciate you guys answering a lot of questions. I know some of us are kind of coming at you guys, but from what I'm hearing, and this is promising to me at least, is when everything's said and done, we are going to have a CRM that can definitely compete with the other stuff that's out there. When everything's said and done, I mean, there's going to be there are going to be bugs, but those will get ironed out. But this can be something we can definitely run our businesses with efficiently, and we can now stop spending $2,000-$3,000 a year on the other software that we have. Is that correct? Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, it will be a powerhouse. That's the goal.
Okay. I'm going to hold you to that, guys.
Feet are to the fire. We're ready.
Well, Eric, one of the things I said is I've kind of pushed for Albiware, but I like Gazingle and its potential. And I think Albiware is already there and Gazingle can get there. And I've told them that. I've told Don that. But when we've had meetings, and Mary, I'm just ready to get you guys a system. And if it means we got to work bugs out, that's fine with me. But when you ask me to help you, and you haven't yet, but some of the guys have, where they're having a difficulty with an insurance company or something like that, I need something where I can just go in and pull it up and look at everything. And it can be arranged so that all the tech gets is the paperwork part and all the moisture records and all that. And then your marketing person can have access to the sales. You know, so all that can be done, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then whoever you want to see what your finances look like maybe an office manager or something like that, would have that ability to go deeper into the system. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
I'll just say, to continue what Kevin said. So our goal, and Kevin is the director of compliance and training, is to truly, yes, set the tone for everyone. Make sure that we have the exact same level of service across the US and Canada, and hold everyone accountable, and make sure that on our end, we provide you all the resources and the tools and everything that you need to succeed. If this is the route that you decide to choose and develop Gazingle, you can be super confident that both Kevin and I are going to be on their tail every day to make sure that this happens. Because, I mean, right now we're working on, we want to onboard insurance program. I mean, there's so many big things that are happening. And in order to take that next level, especially now with branding campaign and activating NAF, we want to make sure that we have the right tools. So for us, this is a big thing. I think I told you, for me, I'm not as proficient with like the features that you guys need. And this is the reason that you're part of the discussion. And at the end of the day, you're going to make the decision on that because you know best what you guys need. But whatever you choose, it's going to be our responsibility to make sure that that happens in the best way possible. So that's our perspective on things.
You know, it will be an excellent thing when the Gazingle is ready, as all of the softwares are, and I will be very happy because this is all we use. It's not easy to transition into other CMR softwares. As I said, we took that service in Circle, and I'm logged into a year's contract. And it was a headache transferring the data and information and training employees on a new software. We kind of gave it up. So I'm pretty happy. I think it is possible, confident the way this presentation and meeting is going. And it seems like you guys know what you guys are doing. So let's get it done. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Harpreet.
Thank you, Harpreet.
So, guys, Harpreet, like, do you guys want to like have another follow-up meeting so you guys can sleep on it, think about it, maybe talk with other franchisees? Because, like, what again, in terms of, I think I speak on behalf of Kevin and myself. Whatever you guys choose to do, it will be our responsibility to execute it in the highest execution manners possibly exist. So I want to make sure, and obviously ensure that there's transparent communication with the Gazingle team. Again, as I said earlier, we're going to be on top of it because we want to make sure that we have the best tool out there for you guys to use to ensure that we provide outstanding customer service. So just let me know how you want to handle that. Do you want to take a few days and speak with everyone? And do you want to do more presentations of different CRMs? What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I don't want to start talking with everyone. It's a lot of time
Yeah.
needed for that. If we can share the presentation, this is gonna, how long we've been in this call? I don't know, probably an hour. Nobody is gonna listen to an hour-long conversation or a meeting. But if we can condense it, and the main questions from everybody coming were, how confident are you that you can achieve that within those 6 to 12 months time frame? Because most of the franchisees who responded, they are of a viewpoint there is no way that can be done. So we want to respond to that question. Second is how competitive it will be, so that we are not paying more money. And the third was like, are we going to be able to compete the functionalities of other available CMRs? So I think these were the three main kind of questions were there, and together with the first part of the presentation which you guys gave, what you guys are trying to do and where it is right now and the phases, if we can condense all that in 10-15 minutes of a presentation that we can share with everybody, and then let them know that what we think is the right approach to go with the redevelopment of the single, or to still keep looking for other CMRs. And at this point, I'm pretty much convinced that it can be done. So we've been waiting for 7 years, we can wait 6 more months.
Okay, so you said the timelines, right? So explain the timelines and competitive pricing, and the last one was features.
Yeah, features or standards what we are going after.
Okay. So, Luis, I recorded this presentation, so I'm going to share with you the recording, and then you can add it and edit and let me know when we're ready. I mean, if you feel that you need to record, I'll send you the 3 things Harpreet just said, just so we make sure that we'll be on the same page. If you need to record additional, just to add to it,
Awesome.
just feel free to do that.
Appreciate it.
And then, so Harpreet, so what you're proposing is that the Gazingle team will record that, and then we'll send it to everyone, and then give it, how long?
A week, maybe.
A
Last time I sent the first email response, the first email which I sent, I only got 7 or 8 responses. The second email which I sent after 2 days, I got probably 15 responses back. And we were 7-8 people in this meeting. So we are talking about almost 30 people, 30 locations, interacting on this right now. So
Yeah.
that's a good enough number.
Okay, so give it a week and then schedule a meeting with you guys after a week just to see where we're at.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
What do you guys think? Everybody else here, Eric, and I don't know who else is here. I know Eric is.
I think they all got busy.
He's busy.
All right.
No, I'm here, guys.
Good idea.
It's been a bit of a frustrating process for me personally, just because I'm one of the users who's been using Gazingle for a very long time. And a lot of the questions that are getting asked are questions that have been being asked for a long time. And the answers are kind of the same answers as well. We sat on the Albeware demo a week ago. A lot of the features that I saw were not as impressive to me because I know they're already in Gazingle. This is why when I got on the call with John and Lewis from Gazingle, I explained that the emphasis had to be on education. And I still feel the same way. I don't think that there's any new features that need to be added. I just think it's the education of how we use the software. So it doesn't matter what software we go to. If everyone doesn't know how to use it properly and make their jobs more efficient and be better as an operation, then it's going to fail regardless.
Zach, I would agree with your statement. You and I have talked about it before, and I think it comes to David, and that's not your fault. I'm not saying pointing you out, David, but your specialty is the marketing for that, because Lewis came into my last WRT I did and did about a 45-minute presentation, and hopefully he'll do it again at the end of June. I haven't invited him yet, but Kelly Jackson, who's an owner in Michigan, I had no idea Gazingle would do all that stuff. And I think, Lewis, you and him have had a meeting since then to go over it, unless I'm mistaken. I think y'all were talking about it.
Yes,
And this comes down to people not knowing what it can do.
So this is at the root of one of the areas that we are trying to point out is we've got to fix how we are communicating and how we're presenting the product so that it is easily digested by everybody.
And I think that'll be addressed in new franchise training as well. You know, that's going to 2 weeks. It's going to all in person. We had some things pop up in this first one that couldn't happen. So Lewis was not able to make his presentation to him because we just ran out of time. But that Gazingle, if Gazingle is the one, there will be at least a half a day of that I'm proposing that new franchisees get that training. And remember that new franchise training is open to your project managers, office managers, people like that. So
Last question, I guess it's for you, Harpreet. Last question for me. So since you started that conversation with franchisees, do you think it would be maybe better if Luis prepares everything and share it with you so you share it with them? Or do you prefer that he'll share it with them and then you follow up with an email? Because I want to make sure that, you know, you have, I mean, not only you, like Zach and Scott and Eric, you guys are involved in that conversation where, again, you guys know best what's best for you.
Miri, are you asking about training? I'm sorry, are you expressing about the training?
No, not the training, like making the decision.
Oh, sorry.
I think she's referring to that condensed version of today's call to share it with other franchise owners. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
One of us can definitely share that if you guys can condense it. They can share with us, and then one of us will share it with everybody.
Okay, cool. So Luis, what you need to do is once you're done with the presentation, share it with the group, and then one of them will email it.
Got it.
So do we have a due date? When do you think you'll have it ready?
The presentation, I could have it in
The video?
The video.
We'll have it for you tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah.
So
As long as we get the video
you'll get it in
fairly like in 20-30 minutes. Yeah.
it takes Google to process, I think, around 10-15 minutes. So as soon as I get it, I'll share it with you guys. So assuming tomorrow, then what would be, so I guess you guys tell me, like Harpreet, Scott, Zach, Eric, like when do you want to schedule a follow-up meeting? Assuming you'll have it tomorrow.
End of next week.
End of next, like the 16th?
Yeah, middle to end of next week.
Okay. Do you want me to put on a calendar on the 16th? Do you guys have any preferred time?
I think it's me or Zach, two guys here. So maybe if you want to send an email so everybody can respond. 15, 16.
Luis, do you mind coordinating that? So either 15 or 16, probably morning, right? Is preferred for you guys, assuming.
whatever works for you.
1 second. Let me look into something. Can we do it on 14th? Because 15th, 16th, both days I have things in the morning.
Yeah, whatever works for you guys.
Either of those 3 days works for me.
Got it. I'll send that. I'll send that out.
14th will be good enough, I guess. We should have response back by then.
Morning is best for you guys.
Yeah, whatever time today is good. It's 12 noon here. So that's
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so you'll send the invite, right, Luis?
Yep, I'll send it over. Yep.
Awesome. Okay, good. Anyone want to add anything else?
Yeah, just I wanna put out there. I just wanna leave the floor open to you guys are aware that we're more than willing, or if we're actually want to, if you guys are want to have communication with us, help us through the process, actually interact with us as we're going through it, right? That would be great. So the floor is open to that. My phone's open. You guys can call me anytime if you guys have any ideas, and if you guys want to set up meetings, all that. I'm open to all that.
Awesome. Thank
Alright.
you, Luis.
Thanks,
All right.
Louis.
John.
Yes.
I
Thank
think
you,
that's it.
everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
guys. Bye-bye.
you, guys.
Thanks.
Well, thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
You guys good
Bye,
rest of your day.
guys.
Bye bye. Thank
Bye.
you, Mary. Bye.